Chapter 3. A look into an unknown past. Her fighting and sword skill exemplary. The monsters could breathe a sigh of relief that their newborn princess is not helpless as they thought she'd be. Especially considering the situation. Because there's adventurers and merchants around at the time. They know what truly happened in Tempest, including a live childbirth show. But since they wanted to know updates before going home, as they were bloomin' adventurers as that country's livelihood is information, they dare not go home without complete intel. Merchants were of the same idea. For now, because the officers kept mum, they were clueless. Because they were keeping it a secret that the princess is okay, until she learns the basics. That, and Rimuru wishes to name her when he recovers. On the subject of recovery, Rimuru found out the hard way why monsters have few kids. Thus tribes have very low populations unless you're a goblin. Heck, they can't even name their own kid or risk dying as the magicules needed is expensive that it's to die for, which was why monsters lived whole lives without names. Parents in the Oni tribe back then would have 2 kids. Families will only stop if they have 1 son and 1 daughter, as the stress of having children was more on the father than the mother. The father nearly loses their powers each time mother conceives to give life to the child within and keep them alive as they grow. Mothers, on the other hand, stay the same, carry baby in tummy while eating for 2 to develop the body. However, Rimuru was a unique case that he was both mother and father, so he has it worse. Good thing he's a regenerating slime that to form Ichigo's new body, her conception and birth consumed large amounts of his body to form her new body and identity as a slime monster. And because of her strength as a captain-class Shinigami, the power he lost was equivalent to what she had when she was alive prior to death. Hence, Rimuru lost enough magicules for Demon Lord seed levels when he gave birth, and that's still plenty enough. He was just glad that upon becoming Demon Lord, his pool increases 10 times when he recovered through sleep mode. That and Ichigo isn't a hostile reincarnator. Otherwise, Raphael would have digested the new-coming soul by now to protect him after vetting the soul that somehow reincarnated through him. So now the 2 slimes are in a part of the forest far away from home to recover by making use of his natural ability as a slime as Ichigo reorganized her skills as she let out her 2 spirits who reincarnated as upper-tier spirits, wishing to be with her in her next life to keep protecting her. Old Man manifested as a light spirit while Zangetsu manifested as an unknown spirit type, the only one of her kind as last Rimuru checked. There's only fire, wind, water, fire, and space spirits mostly, with light spirits being born when a true hero's birth is coming. Thus their numbers are proportionate to such individuals existing, and Zangetsu's an anomaly whose type is unknown. 2 unique skills that represented her Zanpakuto, though Ichigo just had quite the heritage drop on her through Old Man. She was shocked while Rimuru listened. And the old man in her soul was actually the scrap of the good the Quincy King Yawatch has lost upon his defeat last time, and he reckons she's lucky to get away from what was coming as his originator is worse than Aizen. Her siblings will be left alone as they have insignificant levels beneath his notice, but he was the true reason why her mother died and never her fault as she believed. Kurosaki Masaki, her mother, used to be a pureblood Quincy and a powerful one for her age, that she was basically the teenage Quincy version of her future daughter. But since she got infected by a hollow through Aizen's experiments, she was dying through soul suicide as hollows are poisonous to Quincy. But Urahara Kisuk, who was researching ways to save the Visored, used those very methods to stabilize her on Isshin's request, at the price of being tethered to her to keep her alive. Thus, he was rendered powerless and later married, as staying together is a must, and Isshin went AWOL from Soul Society as he felt it's his fault she got into her mess. But this made Masaki a target for Oswalin or Holy Selection years later. Captain Commander Yamamoto defeated Yawatch centuries ago. But Yawatch would return through the Emperor's Song. 900 years to regain his life. 90 years to regain his intellect. 9 years he would absorb the powers of every impure Quincy to fatal levels, and 9 days after that, he would regain the world. On that very day Ichigo was lured by Grand Fisher. Masaki would have effortlessly killed him as she was powerful. But on that very day, Oswalin has begun, robbing her of her powers. That was the true reason she died, to Ichigo's horror. Oswalin would continue for the next 9 years, and when Ichigo died from the final Getsuga Tensho, she dodged a bullet there as Oswalin is still ongoing, and in a few months, the Quincy War would begin, and her sisters are very safe as despite risks. Isshin never trained them to keep them away from Oswalin and kept all daughters ignorant of their heritage as extra protection as Ryukin recommended. aware of how his eldest felt regarding Masaki's death. That protection was something he could not do for his own son Yuryu, as his parents told their grandson to start his training young, to his great anger, as that protection against Oswalin they threw out the window. His and his wife's attempts were for nothing. But luckily, Yuryu wasn't absorbed for some reason as years went by. But out of grief, he didn't get close to his son, thinking he would just die anyway. No thanks to his grandparents who signed the boy's death warrant. Why bother get close, right? It was also why he had a falling out with his parents for getting Death's blade near his throat. Ready to slit it when he's a child, he decided to make them suffer the guilt for it instead, as his own way of revenge. But that doesn't mean he didn't love his son. He was just afraid of losing a loved one again, as the closer, the more it'd hurt. Isshin tried not to say a word, even if he wanted to comfort his eldest that it was never her fault, as being aware of their heritage. Acknowledging what they are will put them on the radar, as Yhwach will know any Quincy who acknowledge their heritage and awaken their power as a Quincy through a psychic link to his descendants, that he would know who's who and who's a what. But Ichigo was just born powerful and got into shenanigans, but she was protected by the hollow she inherited from her mother, as absorbing her would get Yhwach fatally poisoned, so he avoided her. She was safe that way, but will still get into trouble by being a Quincy target simply for being impure. Yuzu and Karen did not inherit the hollow, as Ichigo got it all by simply being firstborn. The twins, for some lucky unknown reason, didn't gain hollow heritage. When Ichigo died and they heard that voice that gave Ichigo her skills, the spirits also made their wishes. Old man to sever himself for good, so Yhwach would never ever find them and reincarnate 3 of them far away to avoid the Quincy Wars. Had Yamamoto truly killed Yhwach, well, it was Shinigami arrogance that the problems they face now was past consequences biting them in the ass now. That, plus Aizen's desires for godhood by killing the Soul King, and be something more, that he manipulated everyone who saw his Zanpakuto release. So that's how it is. Rimuru mused. Ichigo's background was doggone complicated, as Yhwach had to talk about it before he begins training Ichigo as a Quincy. Sadly, yes, said Yhwach. The Yhwach Ichigo has, that is, there are bits of Yhwach in every Quincy being born. Even Yuzu and Karen has bits of him that represented being a Quincy, as he is the progenitor of the race. These fragments can even know what the others nearby know, which is how I know, like a hive mind of sorts. So I know what's going on with the Ishida family, as well as conversations between Ryukin and Isshin regarding the impending full revival of the king. He said, it was thanks to Isshin, whose power was more powerful than those unawakened bits, that influenced those fragments within them, making them Zanpakuto as years go by. Had they trained as Quincy's, Yhwach would have more influence and put them in danger during Oswalin years. But thanks to Isshin's marriage and Masaki's infection, it greatly weakened the fragments their daughters inherited, and Isshin's Shinigami powers influenced us to become Zanpakuto who would protect their wielders. I have sensed that change in myself when Ichigo was born, that 3 fragments became the good Yhwach will never be, until I later learned that it's because we're close to the Hogyoku Urahara Kisuk hid that the wishes of those parents were the true cause out of their wish to protect their children. He told them. That very act and that troublesome marble formed the final defense of the girls if they were strong enough to become palatable targets. Is that so? So by sheer dumb luck and a series of coincidences got us safe in turn? And I actually have Aizen to thank for those? Ichigo could only laugh weakly as she did a face palm at the ridiculousness of it all. Weirdly enough, yes. He unwittingly had a hand in saving you and your sister's lives, which in my good opinion, the only good thing he ever did. Yhwach agreed solemnly with an arm fold. Just as how your parents and Urahara never realized wishes near the Hogyoku would make the impossible possible. Well, that's good, isn't it? Zangetsu snorted. He was useful for once. So for now, back to organizing skills before we get to training Ichigo. She said, this world is fucking weird. Well, I long learned how to get used to the way this world works. Rimuru laughed dryly. At least in regards to magic and skills. Let's consult Raphael-sensei. And thus, unique skills aside, Ichigo has one intrinsic skill, some extra skills, arts, and resistances. Ichigo's unique skills can damage the soul, being what she used to be. Naturally, she has resistances from her own powers, being a monster slime now. Unique skill, Monk of Destruction. It features ultra-speed magical absorption, ultra-speed spirit-ron absorption, control magic, holy magic nullification, and holy magic, meaning she can use holy magic without harm to her whatsoever and no need to draw in faith and miracle as long as she can get spiritrons. Unique skill, monstrous berserker. Rimuru, once he names Ichigo, thus has access to her skills through food chain, can use this safely as he wasn't connected to Zangetsu, thus in willing control of himself, unlike Ichigo, he thought. It grants Spiritron construct armor, Magicule construct armor, pain nullification, physical attack increase, feral battle instincts, spirit possession battle mode through Zangetsu, spiritual power boosting, and battle berserking continuation. Intrinsic skill, common to slimes, a lucky few, and demon lords. It includes regeneration upgraded to ultra speed regeneration at birth, dissolve, absorb, advanced growth rate, which is unique only to Ichigo, and blood guise, which is also unique only to Ichigo. Extra skill. It includes magic sense, magic aura, steel strength, and shadow movement. Arts. It features air flight, magic bullet, diamond path, and instant move. Resistances. It includes physical attack resistance, pain resistance, which becomes nullification if monstrous berserker is activated, spiritual attack resistance, and holy magic nullification, meaning holy magic will never harm her, be it from someone else or her using the magic. You know, when I look at all these extra skills and arts, it's what we can all do when we're Shinigami. Zangetsu scratched her head as they listed down what Ichigo has on paper. Airflight represented an aspect of Shuinpa that enabled them to float or walk on air. Magic bullet represented Zero. Diamond path represented a Shinigami and Hollow's defensive toughskins based on strength. Instant move is Shuinpa itself. But what's with all this holy stuff anyway? Zangetsu asked Yawatch. Well, we Quincy originated as priests, and when we could use our powers to kill Hollows, we believed back then we gained holy powers against demons in medieval times before truth came eventually. Yawatch explained. I suppose this is born out of belief and this world simply reflected our wishes. At any rate, it's a boon to us now, said Rimuru. When he names Ichigo, he would have access to anti-holy benefits. Yawatch, will you teach Ichigo Quincy skills? Yes, he said. Although I only have memories of traditional skills. I know not what my other self came up with, but I should be able to come up with something, said Yawatch. If he can create and bestow abilities, so can I, he said. By the way, airflight also is the representation of Quincy's skill Harankyaku, as we can glide and fly with it. And shadow movement was a recent discovery by them before Yuryu's grandfather was killed by Hollows. He was the one who meets with other Quincy's for business and learned some new tricks. XXX. I'm not seeing Rimuru-sama lately after office hours, said Shuna as Ichigo has lessons with her while Rimuru runs his office and plans war strategies with everyone else. Manners and skills befitting a princess. Shuna was the only princess until Orc disaster happened, but she still keeps her status as she was royal since birth, even if she now serves Rimuru as a vassal, just as how Benimaru keeps his status as prince. She can be herself at home in this city, but when there are guests around, she has to put up a public face. Ichigo can understand that because a country is on the line and a country's main face is its royal family, with their city coming second to that. She somehow ended up a royal through her situation. She is now dressed in outfits of her choice. A sleeveless yellow-orange iwagi, an orange waist wrap with a white ribbon and red embroidered mont pants tucked into leather tabi boots. On her arms were long fishnet print gloves with Teco leather gloves. Her long hair is tied into a ponytail wrapped in a cloth wrap. Her wardrobe has fancy dresses for formal occasions as well as formal battle attire and casual clothes. She would have gotten a magisteel sword when Rimuru offered before, but an annoyed Zangetsu protested as she was, "Here first, asshole." Besides, even Rimuru admitted that no thanks to Clayman, his carefree days with his friends are now limited. Politics will now take half his time, so yes, he'll take his ire out on Clayman. That, and Shuna teaches her how to do household chores and cook. Ichigo wanted to inwardly laugh as Rimuru introduced foods. He knows that they managed to recreate here through a thorough study of ingredients of this world. So she put her quick study to play. Shuna proved to be a good friend with some maternal air to her. Well, he's recovering, said Ichigo. He said he can't name me and Black yet because of the demon lord that threatened our city, and a fight is imminent. He can't afford being crippled at a crucial time like this," she said as her words made Shuna glum. "He would need all he's got. Not to mention he predicts this King Gazel will visit. He couldn't afford to be sleepy in a meeting or worse, hibernate while they're here. Naming me will be very expensive." Shuna shuddered as she can just imagine the costs, as Ichigo was born powerful as they felt it during her conception and birth. "Say, Shuna," Ichigo thought, "given what Dad told me, is the method to become Demon Lord well known?" "Not really, we discovered it thanks to Ellen's myth about a girl and her pet dragon," said Shuna. "We also discovered how to bring back our dead by sheer luck and accident. Otherwise Rimuru-sama will never recover from the deaths of some of our people, especially children," she said somberly. "The method of evolution is not famous. Otherwise we'll have too many demon lords around. Thus very few in the council knows as we can be trusted." Point well taken. Rimuru was very strong. Ichigo wondered if he's captain commander class or something. Or stronger. That's true. But what if Clayman figured out how, and deliberately set up Falmouth on us so you'll kill them for him while his subordinates lie in wait to reap souls for the guy? Shuna stiffened at her words. "We'll have to confirm that," Shuna choked out, deeply shaken. "We'll wait for the meeting to end. Brother, tell me when the meeting is about to end." Shuna contacted Benimaru, who was in the meeting. "Princess has a worrying theory." "A worrying theory?" "Yes, it's about the attack on us. That got Benimaru worried in the office. He told her okay. And so? Shuna says you have a worrying theory about why we're attacked?" Rimuru frowned as Ichigo repeated what she suspected. "That got the atmosphere plunging." Does that mean that Majin hovering above the human camps I killed by deflecting Raisin's nuclear magic at her since she was snooping around, and she is clearly not of Rimuru-sama's genealogy, as we spirit-type Majin can sense such things unlike Majin of the material world?" Noir looked thoughtful. "So I have no qualms killing her. Could that be why she was miles above the sky thinking I can't see her?" He scoffed before looking annoyed. "I've been underestimated by a bug, no less. We dodged a bullet there." Rimuru swore, clearly unamused. "Now it all makes sense." He wasn't too happy either. "Did she have any?" he asked Black, anxious if the unknown Majin managed to get some souls. "No, sire. It seems I was first through the unique skill, Merciless, that was gained when I was so angry back there. I got them all before that Majin got a single one," he said, looking pissed. "The question is, what made such a setup possible? Who and what did claim in use? Thus we must prevent any more offense attempts from Falmouth in the near future through our plans," he said. "We'll have to prevent attempts of Clayman gaining human souls by an arranged conflict. The Beastketeers will arrive next day. We'd best prepare since they came to ask us for help as allies." XXX. After leaving the office, "Beastketeers?" Ichigo asked Rimuru, looking amused as they walked home. "Yeah. 3 musketeers come to mind, and there's also 3 of them." Rimuru snorted. "They rule Eurazania alongside Demon Lord Carrion. But for some harebrained reason, Malim, a friend of ours, attacked him. We have yet to hear the details about that. I will name you after hearing from them and introduce you officially to Tempest, if you say so. Besides, by naming her, Rimuru will then gain access to her skills. Thus he'll recover his spent energy faster than normal from his natural ability as a slime. Thus he can make it in time. I'll go on ahead. I have yet to get used to these communal dinner thing. Tempest meals are at home only at breakfast and lunch, but in the case of the executives, they eat at the office at lunch with meals catered to them. Heck, Ichigo even eats there after lessons with Shuna. Dinner? At the city square. A massive feast with even visitors invited. So even if she was still unnamed, she joins everyone for dinner, and they're a fun bunch even if they all called her princess. She had to get used to giant monster hotpots though. Chapter 4, Troubles Among Demon Lords. Next day, the Beastketeers arrived on the 8th day. 7 days before that, Tempest was attacked by Falmouth, and Rimuru became a demon lord, and also gave birth to his daughter. The rest of the days were catching up, planning, recovering, and Ichigo learning from Shuna. During those days, the Biscuiteers traveled from home to here. Thus, the morning after, they arrived in his residence's conference room. Due to having a means of communication, the Biscuiteers are naturally up to date with their allies' developments. In regards to your evolution and the birth of Crown Princess, we express our sincerest congratulations. Albies spoke as they all bowed in respect before the two slimes. The princess has a much older-looking appearance than her father and has sharper eyes than he did. Even better, she has a much more feminine appearance than her girly-looking father. I heard about the refugees, said Rimuru. I'm glad you guys are safe, he said in relief, considering he heard that Eurazania is in trouble, but not the specifics. Thank you very much. Let's hear about this. What happened in Eurazania? Let me, Phobio the Black Panther, speak of it. Phobio offered. A little over less than a week ago, we received a declaration of war from Demon Lord Malim. He said, Carrion-sama prepared for battle. We offered to fight with him as it's war, but he said he'll handle her on his own and had us evacuate the people immediately. That would make sense because as a leader, your country comes first and there's no country without people, Ichigo thought. Indeed, as she promised, she came a week later. Phobio continued. I witnessed the short battle between them, he said in a pained voice. She's a monster, he croaked out. Carrion-sama gave all he had, only to see she wasn't even grazed and her appearance changed, like she donned armor and grew wings. He told them shakily as the fight replayed in his mind. She then let out a blast of power that turned our capital city of Laula into a sea of flames and punched a hole through the mountains. They can already imagine such a scenario of horror. Carrion-sama was so shocked, he didn't see Sky Queen Fry sneak from behind him and slit his throat, said Phobio in vexation. I stayed to witness the fight as my job while Albies and Sufia had our people far away enough. Good thing they were in another direction. She then took Carrion-sama and left. Dad, is that normal behavior for your friend? Ichigo asked Rimuru. Even I agree that while she's certainly capable of it, she's not the type to wipe out cities because she felt like it, said Rimuru. She was like a typical child her age with all emotional crazies that went with it, such as easy to anger, temper tantrums and the like, but also easy to pacify if you do it the right way. He explained. Given Carrion's personality, there's no way he'd offend Malim to warrant that, he said with a frown. And another demon lord is in on this even. Was there some collaboration between factions among the demon lords in a power grab of sorts? He inquired anxiously. If there was, we'd know it and prepare for the worst to keep our country alive, as because we are co-rulers, we three focus on Eurazania's survival while Carrion-sama and our soldiers march off to war. We only fight if necessary as ordered, said Albies. And Carrion-sama believes in meritocracy, that even he knows his place among the 10 demon lords. There's no way he'd anger anyone stronger than he, and he never cared for demon lord squabbling. He prefers to stay out of it. I see. Then this is strange. Rimuru said. I don't know much about this Fry. What of Malim's behavior during the fight? She spoke very little and she never blinked, not even once, said Phobio. And has this unnerving stare, he said. It's totally different from the Malim I met in this city not that long ago, he said, recalling his encounter with Malim in Tempest. Then, a question from me. Ichigo piped up as she really had a bad experience with Aizen. Even if she never fell into his shurikai, that would have spelled her defeat. If it wasn't for Unohana warning her, so she's really wary of anything mind-warping. Who has mind control powers among them? That would be Clayman, considering what Murin's life was under him before I freed her, unless there are others with such skill, but for now he's prime suspect, said Rimuru before frowning. You don't think? He can clearly follow Ichigo's train of thought there. However, there are conditions needed to control someone through magic. So he knows full well it's impossible from the start. That's a possibility, but there's another factor. Who's strong in what order? Ichigo asked the Biscuiteers as Rimuru was realizing things. And so was Black. It seems with Ichigo asking the right questions, they were figuring things out from another angle. In order of strength from 1 to 10, In terms of fighting skill, it's Guy Crimson, but in terms of magicule, it's Malim, but she's less skilled in fighting, so those two are tied for first place," said Albies. "Following them is Ramiris in terms of magicule, but as a fighter, nobody's ever seen her fight, but nobody dares to mess with her considering Guy and Malim are backing her up." "Nah, she's no fighter," Rimuru quipped. "She herself told me when I sought her out to save Shizu's students who are in danger of magicule instability. She watches over the balance of the world and only interferes when needed as the Spirit Queen. So she's probably a formidable magic user at her prime and a true blue neutral as a result." Albies agreed. They were the first demon lords to exist and their places never changed. So where does Clayman stand? "He's one of the newest demon lords," Albies informed them. 200 years ago, Curse Lord Kazarium before his demise under Leon Cromwell and Malim sponsored him. Carrion-sama and Fry-sama was already demon lord then. She said, "So he's most likely the weakest among them now," Rimuru commented. "Thus it's impossible for him to control Malim." Everyone gasped at his conclusion. "What? Her power is just too absurd," said Rimuru, remembering Ellen's story about the tale of resurrection with a grim look on his face. Sometimes, a spell cast by a weaker caster cannot take hold of someone stronger than them, unless said person is mentally or emotionally weak, as a condition for mind control to take hold, as mind control only works on those with weak minds or weak mental strength. Malim's both strong in power and too strong-willed. He explained. Sure, the spell is applied on her, but she'd effortlessly break it just by being too strong. She is simply playing along until she gets to the root of things. He concluded. Who knows what Frey's role is in all this? But Malim is playing pretend. A dangerous high-stakes game. She had to make it look real, or she'll never know what Clayman's aim is. Fry is collaborating with Clayman for reasons only known to her, and we'd never know that. But sadly, to know what Clayman's up to, Eurazania paid the price. Rimuru frowned as the Biscuiteers choked. He must have decided to order Malim to wipe Laula as a test drive of his magic on her. And Malim had to play along. That bastard! Phobio gnashed his teeth in anger as the ladies pursed their lips in anger, their bodies shaking in rage that Eurazania paid for a power struggle issue between demon lords. He stood up, murder in his eyes, but pressure from Albies stopped him. Cool it, Phobio, Albies said coldly. I understand how you feel, but don't go alone, she said. We'll do it together. Ichigo was in disbelief. She thought Albies would say the sensible thing of let's plan first. But these guys are doing what she used to do, so she understands them. But the situation is different. After Carrion, they are the sub-rulers of Eurazania. Thus they can't do things recklessly. Then Milord. Is he trying again for yet another attempt to evolve since you foiled his first attempt? Black pointed out. Most likely, said Rimuru. Too bad for Clayman. Carrion foiled him again by having his people evacuate. No souls for him to consume to become a demon lord. What? The Biscuiteers are shocked with their words. They didn't see that coming from them. They were going to get killed to harvest their souls for Clayman to become a demon lord. Given what's going on, we should deal with him as soon as possible, but for now, we should prioritize the refugees before we launch a rescue mission for Carrion as he was taken away. Not killed, he said. His throat was slit, but with a demon lord's ability to quickly heal, he won't get killed from that. Not only that, there's also something strange going on here, said Sophia. I don't get why Fry let Phobio go. Harpies have eyes so sharp they can clearly see the ground from the loftiest of heights. She told them. There's no way the ruler of Harpies didn't see Phobio. Not only that, isn't Clayman already won? Albies croaked out in disbelief. What do you mean by he's trying by consuming souls? There are demon lords who went through proper channels like Rimuru-sama did. Black told them. A monster who fulfilled conditions before consuming a large amount of souls to trigger Harvest Festival for them to evolve into a true demon lord. They would undergo physical and spiritual changes and have their current skills evolve, and their current magical power multiplied 10 times over. He explained. Since he is aiming to be won by staging wars for souls, he is most likely a self-proclaimed demon lord. The reason he lasted this long was because he had backing. Otherwise he'd be killed for his impudence long ago by the real deals. He pointed out. And his position must be shaky that he's in a hurry to keep his spot. He said. Given what we have now, he's desperate. I can see that happening now. Rimuru sighed, resting his chin on laced-up fingers. Now that we determine the reason, Cheyenne, bring me a map. He instructed Cheyenne, who obeyed and brought Rimuru a map. Phobio, in which direction did Fry fly to? He asked, putting the map on the table. To the northeast of Eurasania, probably Malim's territory, said Phobio, tracing the map with his armored finger. But I doubt that now. Maybe even further since Malim-sama's playing pretend. To Gistav, possibly. XXX. When the meeting ended, Rimuru went out to get fresh air. How are things inside? He asked Black. Benimaru-sama and Princess did well in calming down the beastketeers. Black reported. Princess did especially well rebuking them. He said with a smile as he recalled that Ichigo bonked them on the head with a knife hand. She said that being sub-leaders, they must think about the welfare of their people first instead of recklessly marching on a suicide mission. Especially as they don't have successors. Suppose they proceed with their hair-brained idea and never came back. Ambitious individuals will trigger a free-for-all in who'll succeed them for sure. He said. Given how Eurasania works, there will be chaotic infighting. In your territory no less. So they can't afford to go and get killed to keep everyone else in line. They stopped and their expressions implied they have no successors and can really see such a disaster happen. They got meek after her scolding and Benimaru-sama then proceeded to lead them to build a refugee camp. She's learning well. Rimuru smiled. From the reckless girl she once was for the sake of her friends. She learned how to think differently now for the greater good. She's taken a few good steps in becoming a good princess. Then he frowned. Too many problems are piling up. Carrion's situation. Whatever heck Malim was going undercover for. Then the aftermath of Falmouth Kingdom. And finally keeping the Western Saints in check. Too much is